No need to worry, I go there by your side. Till the world hears your voice, till you take over the world. I go carry your matter for head, yo. I go there by your side. Good evening. It's the Intentional Parenting Chat, and I remain your host, Dimon Wobi. Till the world hears your voice, till you take over the world, I go carry your matter for head, I go there by your side. That's actually what parenting is all about. When we take this project, I always say that parenting is an 18 to 21 year project, and so when we commit to doing that, what we're actually saying to our children is that we will be by their side, we will take them through the steps until they take over the world and become all that they were created to be. Thank you for joining us, Josiah. I can see you. I'm glad you're here. Tonight on the Intentional Parenting Chat, we want to talk about how we can boost our children's confidence. Okay, and sometimes I hear parents say, my daughter is having some challenges with self-esteem, my son is doing this and his confidence is dwindling. Recently, I was talking to a young girl, and this young girl cried her heart out. She's about 11-year-old, and why was she crying? Because her friends in school said that her nose was shaped one kind, and the girl felt very bad, and it made her pour out tears. So sometimes what our children's friends tell them, the peer pressure, they are being bullied. A young girl was bullied because she was on the big side, and they kept telling her she was fat. It was affecting her esteem. I understand, because as a young girl, I suffered from poor body confidence, and that also affected my self-esteem a lot. And so it limited me. When your child is suffering from low self-esteem and is losing confidence, your child is not able to be all that that child is supposed to be. I remember those days as a young teenager. There were things I had insights to. There were discussions I could contribute to, but because I was this withdrawn girl, not because I was naturally withdrawn, but because I had spots all over my body, and then they would call me sporty, and so I had this poor body confidence, and it affected my self-esteem and stole my confidence. So I want to share with you a tip that you can share with your children that will help them to get their confidence back. One day I was having a discussion with a very good friend of mine and one of my mentors in the family life industry by name Prince Fowowe, and he shared this insight with me. And then when I came home, I shared it with my children, and the result was tremendous. And what was this insight? He shared something with me. He says, when somebody says that you're useless, let's process it together. The word useless has two keywords: use and less. When somebody says you're useless, how do you feel? Even for your child, when somebody tells your child that he's useless, how does the child feel? The child will feel sad, the child may feel bad, the child may feel dejected, the child may feel less of a person. But you know why that child is feeling that way? It's because of the meaning that the child has given to that insult, that supposed insult, that supposed bad word. So if you want to help your child to regain their confidence, you need to teach your children how to change the meanings that they attach to what people tell them. Okay, so for that particular time, Praise was saying to me, if somebody says you're useless, look at the two keywords, use and less. It's actually a compliment. And you might be wondering, what do I mean is a compliment? It is a compliment, because if someone says you're useless, the person is actually saying you're using less of yourself. Now imagine if before now your child was feeling bad because somebody called him useless, and then you teach your child to be able to change the meanings to what people say to him or her, and take authority, take charge of how she feels. Somebody once says that it is not what is said to us that matters. It is what we say of the things that are said to us. And so you must begin to teach your children this early, so that they will begin to have confidence in themselves. It's not really about what people say to them. It's really about what they are interpreting of what people say to them. And so if you have a child who is suffering from confidence issues, or a child who is being bullied, or a child who is saying, I don't want to go to school because my friends will mock me, or I don't want to associate with my friends because they will laugh at me, maybe they will laugh at the size of my nose, or they will laugh at my bow legs, or something as crazy as even young people making fun of themselves because of their handwriting. A young boy once said to the father, I don't want to go to school because they are laughing at me that my writing is not fine. And so you need to teach your children how to change the meaning so that they will be empowered. So here we take it again. If you change the meaning, you're actually taking charge of what you want to make out of what people say about you. So if you have a child who is suffering from confidence issues or self-esteem, you need to teach that child how to change the meanings that they attach to things. So if somebody says to your child, you are useless, you're teaching your child to change the meaning. It actually means you're using less of your potential. And isn't it only somebody who is filled with potential that can use less of it? So when I taught my children that, it changed the game. So somebody who came now and was saying something to my daughter to say that, oh, you did this. She said, yes, it's a compliment. And so many of the times, the meanings that our children give to things is actually the meanings we have taught them. I did a teaser one time with adults, and I shared something to say. I asked the question, is comparison the thief of joy? And lots of people responded that comparison was the thief of joy. And so I began to question, where did you learn that comparison was the thief of joy? It was because of what people have been telling you about it. Because every day in life we are comparing. When you go to somewhere, maybe a wedding reception, and you're saying, oh, I won't sit here, I want to sit by the where the fan is so that I will get maximum ventilation. You've actually compared the other seat with the other. So many a times the meanings we give to things is the meanings that people have drummed in our ears, the meanings that people have made us to believe. So if your child is suffering from confidence issues, maybe you have not been validating that child. Maybe you have been saying the wrong things to the child, because a child that is well validated from home, a child whose parents is constantly making deposits in the emotional tank, will have some confidence, will believe in himself irrespective of what others say to him. So what have you been saying to your child? When your child makes a mistake, how do you handle it? Are you that parent that will shout, will scream? You want to always correct your child at every opportunity? You need to know that you may be damaging the esteem of your child more than you think. Because if for every time that your child does something, you have that impulse to always correct, you could be damaging that child's esteem. We're not saying that you should excuse bad behavior, but let every time that you spend with your child not be a time of correction, not be a time of rebuke. Let there be some times that you spend it to make deposits in your child's emotional bank. So if you have a child who is struggling with confidence issues, you need to learn to validate that child. Let the child know that you love him genuinely. Make deposits into the child's emotional tank, and then learn to teach your child how to change the meanings to things. That when peer pressure comes, what is the meaning that your child is attaching to it? Because the meaning that your child is attaching to it is actually what determines the emotions that your child gives to it. So like Praise shared with me and said, when someone says you're useless, the person is actually saying you're using less of your potentials. And if you teach your children how to be able to change the meanings of what their peers, their friends, their teachers, so when a teacher says a child is stupid, what does the child change that to? Changing the meanings of the things that people say to our children, teaching them to be able to change the meaning is one way that you can boost their confidence. So there are a lot of other ways to boost their confidence. Like Virginia Satire will share with us, she said that hugging also boosts confidence. How many times do you hug your children a day? Do you have a hugging ritual with your children? Because when you hug your child, you're actually telling the child, I appreciate you. You're actually telling the child, I love you. You're actually telling the child, you matter. And by doing that, you also are boosting your child's confidence. So confidence boosting for our children starts from home. And it starts also, it has to do with the perception that you have of your child. So who do you see when you see your child? That person that you see when you see your child reflects in the way that you would talk with the child. It reflects in the way that you respond to the child. It reflects in the way you treat that child. And I tell you, a child that you make to feel like a king from home cannot feel any less a king, irrespective of the pressure that comes from outside. And so when you're raising your children in line with the perception you have for them, we've also learned tonight that you need to teach them how to change the meaning. Remember, when someone says to your child, you're useless, you're going to teach your child that means the child should transform the meaning. Rather than giving the other person the power to control him, rather than giving the other person the power to destroy his confidence, rather than giving the other person the power to rubbish his self-esteem, your child learning how to change the meaning to an empowering meaning, to mean, oh, I'm using less of my potential. It keeps your child empowered. So what are the other ways as a parent that you think we can boost the confidence of our children? Why not share it with us as comments? And if you have questions, challenges, anything you would like for us to treat on the Intentional Parenting Chat, I will be expecting to get a chat from you. So here's how much you can take tonight on the show. Remember, a child that you validate at home, a child that you make to feel loved, will take that out. And no matter the pressure that comes from outside to make the child feel less of a person or to damage the child's confidence, you're already doing a good work at home. And so thank you for joining me on tonight's show. I remain Dima, your host on Intentional Parenting Chat, and I wish to see you again same time by 8 p.m. on Wednesday, where we continue to share tips on how to love, lead, and influence our children with ease. I gave a gift out to parents recently. Have you been able to download your own gift? If you have not downloaded your gift, the link is in this video. Please click on it and find out what smart parents are doing that is giving them the results they are having with their children. Thank you, Adeyemi Adetunji. Says, great content, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Adeyemi, for joining. And please, if you enjoyed the content that we shared today, please click on the share button and share with your friends and family so that together we can raise wholesome children and transform our generation. When we come on Wednesday, we're going to talk. There's something troubling. There's something trending. There's something about the involvement of the youth and children in drugs these days. What is your take on this drug menace? How do you think we can work it out? Join me on Wednesday on the Intentional Parenting Chat. Let's talk about drug abuse and the future of our children. Make it a date and invite someone to join us on the show on Wednesday, where we'll be talking about drug abuse and the future of our children. Thank you for being part of the show.